Hey everyone, welcome back to Speak Now Pro Wrestling episode 7 with myself, Denise Salcedo. It is the November 11th edition of my show, and this is going to be a very fun one because both AEW and NXT put out some very, very good shows today, and there was a little bit of controversy surrounding AEW today, and we are gonna get into that later on in this show. So this is a very exciting show for today, especially because, again, we had a good episode of NXT, and it's also the fallout from Full Gear on AEW Dynamite. So much to talk about. But before we get into that, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a layout for what we're going to do today. I'm going to kick it off with NXT, and then we are going to go ahead and go into AEW. I also want to let you all know that this is a very interactive show, so your comments are always appreciated on this stream. Make sure to send in anything you'd like so we can go ahead and just talk about wrestling here today, especially because there is so much to talk about. Also, a friendly reminder, because we do get a lot of comments in this chat box, so I do want to remind you, if you do want to get your comment read 100% sure on this stream, your comment, statement, or question, please feel free to send it in a super chat. It is always greatly appreciated. I do get to keep 100% of the proceeds after YouTube takes a cut, so please make sure to send in a super chat. It would very, very, very much help me out today. But I'm already seeing a lot of comments today in regards to that controversy that I talked about today. And here we go. Let's start it off with Patrick Della Penta. So I'm going to get your thoughts really quickly, and then we'll jump into NXT. So Patrick Della Penta says AEW is insane. I don't know if you meant insane in a good way or in a bad way. Scott MUFC says Tony Khan lied. Now, I wouldn't say that he lied. Mainly greatly over-exaggerated. Perhaps. I do agree with that. Terrell says, what's up, Denise? AEW was epic, awesome, and the ending with the return of the king of AEW Pac. Watch out, Moxley and Kenny. So we're having a lot of different opinions here today. Okay. Oh, here we go. We have another one. Scott also says, change the business, my ASS. Daniel says, overhyped, under-deliver. John wants to know if Shaq was the surprise. All right, guys, we're going to get into that when we get into it because there's going to be a lot to say about this. But let's just kick things off with NXT. But I'm already kind of very excited to get into the AEW conversation, but I'm going to hold it up. All right, let's start off with NXT, everybody, because NXT is sometimes a show that I think a lot of people aren't talking about as much. And today, I thought that they put on a really good show. There was a lot of good matches, and we had a couple of surprises, maybe one or so. And I would say that the main one was the opening match. So in the opening match, we saw Johnny Gargano, who did the spin the wheel of challengers, and he basically spins the wheel, gets an opponent, and it just happens to be Leon Ruff. And Johnny Gargano sort of making fun of the fact that he's going to be facing Leon Ruff for the NXT North American title. So they end up having a match that ends up being fairly decent. One of the things about Leon Ruff is that he is a very fast-paced wrestler, so he is pretty exciting to watch. However, the ending was very, very shocking because we had Damian Priest come out. He sort of distracts Johnny Gargano, which ends up helping Leon Ruff get the win over Johnny Gargano. And just like that, we have a new NXT North American champion. And I will tell you right now that I did not see this coming whatsoever. And this made me so happy. Not necessarily because, I'm a big fan of Leon Ruff or I was rooting for him. No, nothing like that. It was more of the fact that there was this big element of surprise. Sometimes right now in wrestling, a lot of things can be predictable, or maybe you already expected it, or you saw the spoilers, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it lacks the element of surprise. So when it really gets you, I think that is pretty awesome. And that is what we saw today with this match. What did you all think, though, of Leon Ruff becoming the NXT North American champion? All right, send in your comments, everybody. Alrighty, Sean says, NXT had enjoyable matches tonight. Dude, they really did. Jonathan Lazauskas says, is Leon Ruff supposed to be NXT's James Ellsworth, except he actually looks like a wrestler? I don't think so, no, because I think that Leon Ruff is actually pretty talented, and the more and more that we start to see him in the ring with different opponents, I think the more and more we will be impressed by Leon Ruff. So I would probably say no, not NXT's James Ellsworth on that one. Alrighty, so there you go. That was pretty much probably my most favorite part of the night. After this, we did get to see Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. This was an awesome match too. But here's the thing though, is that Jake Atlas and Santos Escobar have been on fire in terms of they both have been respectively having killer matches. So I didn't expect anything differently from this. And here's the funny thing, is that when this was going on NXT, Santos Escobar and Jake Atlas, we were getting something totally different with AEW, and it was two polar opposite shows, because when we were getting this match, it was around the same time that we were getting the Cody segment, and I just thought I couldn't stop laughing at the fact that there were just two very, very different things happening on each show. I thought that was very interesting. If there was ever a moment where people were like, oh, AEW is this, NXT is that, blah, 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 I think that would be the perfect moment to sort of encapsulate how different the shows are, especially today. Alrighty, what did you all think about Santos Escobar, Jake Atlas for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship? Oh, we got a troll in the comments section. TJC says the overexposure of Denise is getting ridiculous. What's up, TJC? Thank you so much for coming on my stream. I'm sorry that you think I'm overexposed, but I actually work really hard for every single thing that I get. So suck it, bro. All right. I'm really not this mean on the air. Sorry, everybody. Kevin Fernandez says, Denise Salcedo, FTW. Oh, my God. Brandon Charles Powell says, Leon winning the title definitely makes the North American title seem a bit more interesting. See, I think I agree with you, Brandon, on that, because that was what we were talking about, the element of surprise. And that's definitely what we got in this. So it really adds to that. It really adds to the bout and the fact that, you know, it was really good. I like this. And Sebi says, Leon Ruff won. Let's go. All right. Bloody Blue says, I don't understand how anyone can watch both shows simultaneously and really get into the whole vibe and mood of any of the two shows. I know you have to if you want to give instant reviews, but I couldn't. I agree with you, Bloody Blue. So I watch both shows simultaneously because it's part of my job, and I really only have an hour between shows between after the shows are over and this stream to sort of catch up on everything. However, what I did is I got, and this is not an ad or anything, but I got Sling TV, so I can watch both shows, but I can pause, and I'm recording the show and I'm pausing, so it's really easy to go back and forth between shows. And then I also have that extra hour where I can catch up on the things that I might have missed, or let's say I'm lagged between one of the shows. So it is hard and it is a struggle to watch both shows at the same time, but that's why I always like go back and rewatch something that I might not have seen like completely. But hey, we have a super chat. Thank you so much to iChurch Pastor Blaster, who says, hey sis, just stopping by to support the great Denise who isn't overexposed. Thank you guys so much for having my back, everybody. Seriously, I really, really appreciate that. Honestly, thank you so much for this super chat. JML says, do you sleep? I try. I really do try to sleep. All right, guys. Let's move on. So after, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about NXT was Candace LeRae versus Toni Storm. So this was a good match. Candace definitely needed a win, especially because we just saw Toni have an impressive win over Shotzi Blackheart last week. So we didn't really need to see Toni win this one, especially considering that Candace LeRae has sort of been on not like a losing streak, but she's been losing a lot. So this was a very nice win for Candace LeRae. They had a really good match. Toni Storm was pissed after the match, and I love this because I feel that even though she lost, she didn't lose anything by actually losing the match. So this was pretty good. After this, we did see the mystery person with wearing a screen mask come out and attack Toni Storm. After this, Shotzi Blackheart came out, but ends up getting attacked as well. And then it is revealed that the person in the screen mask mask is actually Indy Hartwell underneath that screen mask. So this is great. I love all the storytelling that they're doing with all of these women right now. It made sense. I was a fan of this, and I appreciate the direction and the storytelling that they have been doing for this match. So overall, good stuff. We have a comment from Greg Cherrybrand, who says, loved you on Quizzlemania tonight. If you ever need a wrestling trivia study session, I'm approaching 1,000 consecutive days as a wrestling trivia champion, so just let me know. Quizzlemania was surely a lot of fun, guys. It was so much fun. Ryan Smith says, Denise, you are wonderful. Okay, better Denise quote, bring on the hammer or break out the nipples. Yes, things get very, very dramatic, guys. They really do. All right, let's move on. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Grimes attacking Dexter Lumis after his match with Timothy Thatcher. And this was funny because we saw him put a potato sack bag on Dexter Lumis on his head and essentially beats him in and around the ring. And I laughed at this. I laughed at this because it seems like they're going a certain direction with this. We might be seeing maybe some sort of blindfold match. Who knows? It feels like they're going that direction, but I laughed when Dexter Lumis had the potato sack over his head and then swung a chair over to Cameron Grimes. I thought this was hilarious because if he has time to swing a chair, why doesn't he remove the blindfold on top of his head? So this was pretty funny. I really like Cameron Grimes. I think I have said this a million times on this show. I think he adds a lot. He's probably one of the few people that could be given like the dorkiest thing or the dorkiest, just anything, right? But he can make it work. And that's awesome because not anybody can do that. We do have a comment that I want to read from Francisco Zuniga, who says, Indy Hartwell, the impressive, is a very good wrestler. It is very good that wrestlers like these could have more opportunities with storylines established. Exactly. We want to make sure that those storylines there are so many people that you know are already good workers, but you want to have that story around them for sure. Alrighty, let's move on. Okay, I want to talk about Tommaso Ciampa's promo. This was a good promo, and the reason why I want to talk about this is because I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again because we had an announcement being made on NXT today, is that Finn Balor is returning next week. Now, we don't really know what's going to happen when Finn Balor returns. We don't know if he's going to return to say that he's dropping the belt or that he's cleared. We don't really know. So I am excited for Finn Balor's return, and I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping that he's cleared, and I'm hoping that he moves on to feud with Tommaso Ciampa. Like I said last week, Tommaso Ciampa sort of seems like he's kind of, he's directionless. He's trying to find some place on the roster right now. And so the fact that he doesn't really have like an actual focal point, I do see him, doing something with Finn Balor, which I think would be absolutely awesome. And then NXT closed out with this Pat McAfee promo, where he comes out and, basically just runs his mouth. And they've been doing such great stuff with this stable. But one of my key favorite parts was when he calls the wrestling community the dumbest community. I couldn't stop laughing at that. That was pretty golden. After this, we go into a match between Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. They do defeat Breezango in the main event. This was a good match. They all brawl afterwards. But what I want to talk about is that the fact that in a couple of weeks, really just a couple of weeks, that Pat McAfee has been with Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan and Pete Dunne and all of that, he has really made you care about these people, especially Lorcan and Danny Burch. Like I said earlier, there are people that we already know are good workers, but we necessarily haven't had a reason to care about them. And I definitely think that we got that reason here with Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. So I love what they've been doing with all of this. And I love that they are also building credibility. I think that the fact that they are coming out each and every single week, they're running their mouth, they're being the ultimate bad guys, they're standing tall at the end of the show. It's only going to make it that much hotter when Undisputed Era comes back and they basically go at it. It's going to be hot stuff. So I would say that this was probably my third favorite thing that I liked on NXT. But overall, I thought this was a good show because, like I said, they had really great matches, with one of the best matches being that Santos Escobar, Jake Atlas match. So good stuff. We do have a comment from Brandon who says, man, I hope Finn doesn't have to give up the bout due to injury. That title could be cursed. Dude, I hope so. I hope that we don't see that either. That's one of the things that we have been seeing NXT struggle with, and it's been hurting them. And, they have found ways around this, getting different talent, highlighting different talent, shifting storylines, in different directions. But we have seen them be hurt by that injury bug. And so I really hope that when Finn Balor comes next week, I hope it's a good announcement and not a bad one. All right, so we are going to move forward and move on to AEW Dynamite because, like I said, this was a pretty interesting episode of Dynamite, especially following Full Gear. As a reminder, send in your chats in the chat box, everybody. I do read each and every one of your comments, or try to read all of your comments. So send them in here. And if you want your comment, question, or statement read on the air on this stream, please make sure to send a super chat. Once again, each and every single super chat, I do get to keep the full percentage after YouTube. So it is really awesome of F4W to allow me to do that. All right, here we go, guys. Time to talk about AEW. So, wow. All right. So we open up with a match between Brian Cage versus Matt Seidel. One of the things that I gotta say, and this just like, oh my God, each and every single time that Brian Cage is in the ring, it really just blows my mind that this guy is not a major focal point each and every single week on the show. I mean, honestly, it's beyond me, but I'm so glad that he was featured here tonight and had this awesome match, because every time that he is in the ring, it never fails to amaze me how agile he is, how he moves in the ring, and everything that he does is just so impressive that you just can't help but to be like gasping every time he does anything. Overall, I thought this was a great opening match just for the fact that it was a nice TV win for Brian Cage, and overall, good stuff. Let's see, we got some comments here. This first one is from Queso25A Eon, who says, QT doesn't get the credit he deserves. Dude, we will get into that when his match comes up. Gary Brar says, Ricky Starks is a gorgeous, gorgeous man. So stylish. Guys, so let's get into this segment, because I think this next segment is probably the most interesting thing that we saw on AEW tonight. So prior to AEW starting, and this is where the controversy starts, my friends, so get excited. I want to get all of your thoughts on this. This is where the controversy starts, and we all live for the drama. All right, so Tony Khan sent out a tweet, and he basically put on there, let me find this tweet here. All right. He basically was promoting the show, but then in the bottom of his tweet, he wrote, and I quote, please join us on TNT tonight. The balance of power in wrestling will shift tonight. I repeat, the balance of power in wrestling will shift tonight. So a lot of people were quote retweeting. Oh my God, what's going to happen on this show? Thank you so much to Robert Anderson for sending in a super chat. You are absolutely awesome. Okay, so he sends this tweet out, and everybody is thinking, okay, this is going to be a big deal. Something's going to happen. We're in the middle of a war. They're always feuding with WWE, NXT, whatever. So I think everybody had different explanations of what they thought this announcement was going to be. And it ended up being something that a lot of people might not have expected. So let's start off how this segment basically kicked off with Cody Rhodes coming out. He comes out, he congratulates Darby on winning the TNT title at Full Gear. And then some girl comes out. At this point, we don't know her name. We don't know who she is. A lot of us don't, but she looks great. She's got this killer look. She looks awesome, but we have no idea who she is or what she's doing there. Well, this turns out to be Jade Cargill, who I didn't have very much prior knowledge of until maybe tonight, basically what I read, what people were saying about her. But at this point, we have no idea what she's doing there or what's happening. So she cuts this promo on Cody, and she keeps alluding to Giant. She keeps telling people that Cody is lying to the people. She even says, and I quote, "There's nothing giant about you." And I'm just going to be blunt, guys. I thought this was a horrible promo. I didn't like it whatsoever. I thought the delivery was awful. And I mean, like, she looked phenomenal, but the delivery was terrible. And then, she kind of goes on, and then afterwards, she goes to the stage. She's on the stage. She's far away from Cody, and she basically announces Shaq. All right, bam, there you go. That is our big announcement that Shaq is going to be at AEW. But then it gets kind of weirder from here. So after she makes this announcement, Brandy comes out and she basically tells her, "Who told you it was open mic night, BITCH?" She stands up for Cody and Brandy just snaps. I mean, she's telling her all of these things. She's basically putting her in her place and cuts the promo of a lifetime, basically telling Jade that, she shouldn't be talking to her man like that, because the second that she talks to her man like that, it is her business. And things get very, very crazy between the two, to the point where this girl, Jade, spanks Brandy in the butt as she's like turning around, and then some production guy comes out and tries to like separate them. Let's talk about this and then after this, we basically see Cage comes out. He power slams Cody from behind. Darby then comes out, does the coffin drop on Starks, and then Cody and Darby both get Cage out of the ring. Cody and Darby seem to form an alliance there, and then Will Hobbs sort of comes out and joins them. But let's talk about what went down here. So much happened. Let me read your super chats because I'm getting a lot here. Guys, I didn't even know where to start off with this segment. Let me just leave it at that. This was very complicated. Jaden, thank you so much for sending in a super chat. Jaden says, "Wasted opportunity with Phoenix. He should turn babyface and be the next contender after Kenny, maybe against Kenny. He never lost in the tourney." So Jaden, thank you so much for sending in the super chat. We will get into the Phoenix, to the main event. We are going chronologically, so I will return to that comment. But thank you so much, Jaden, for sending in a super chat. Also, thank you so much to Catherine Spinoza for sending in a super sticker. You are awesome, Catherine. I really, really appreciate it. All right. What do you all think about this? What do you think of the Shaq announcement? What do you think of the Tony Khan tweet? The whole thing between Jade and Brandy? I mean, this was kind of a letdown. I'll just be real. So I'm going through your comments. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Jarek Moore. Jarek, you're going to kick us off this conversation. Jarek says, "Big flop on the balance of power." Yeah, I agree. This was really, really bad. In my opinion, I thought it was overhyped, and I feel that we've been seeing AEW do this quite a few times where they overhype an announcement that is going to be made, and the fans end up being disappointed. And that's not a good thing necessarily, because when you actually have a really big announcement, you could risk losing that credibility as a company when you're like, "Hey, tune into Dynamite because we're going to have this amazing surprise, the biggest surprise of all time," whatever it may be. People are not going to believe you anymore because they're going to remember, okay, the balance of power, and it ended up being Shaq, who is 15 years past his prime, isn't the same Shaquille O'Neal that you're seeing right now. So it's kind of like, yeah, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of this. I really did think that you do, as a company, lose credibility when you make statements like shifting the balance of power in pro wrestling, and then you come out with something like this. Now, again, I should mention that I didn't necessarily know what the announcement was going to be. I didn't really have an idea of what the announcement was going to be. I mean, if anything, they could have announced their second show. I don't know, something. So I do think that this was a bad look. Greg Cherry Brand says, "I don't understand all the Brandy Rhodes hate that some people have. I always enjoy when she's on TV." Greg, I do agree with you. I think Brandy Rhodes does an awesome job in her role, and I think she's pretty good on the microphone. Gary Brar says, "Oh God, I forgot the segment even happened. It just disappeared into the memory hole of my mind." And then, see, I don't think so. I was reading another comment. So when you say that, that's probably not a good thing, because if this is supposed to be shifting the balance of power and you forgot about it, that's probably not a good thing, right? Isaac says, AEW seems to have a penchant for little lies and exaggerations, as opposed to WWE, who just outright false advertises. Unfortunately, both are very untrustworthy promotional tactics. Yes, those are both very untrustworthy promotional tactics. I do agree with that. And all right, I'm going through your comments. Black Adam agrees that the delivery was god awful. Sam B, though, on the other end, says that he enjoyed her promo. And okay, I just read this comment. 1 second, guys. I'm trying to read all of your comments that we are getting here. Okay. Tunol says, I'm glad they identified Jade Cargill, since she's been in the crowd for the last couple of months and I had no clue who she was. See, I too had no clue. Gary also points out, no more celebrity stunt casting. Look, I know a lot of people are anti the celebrities appearing in wrestling. I am not that person. I don't mind it. However, when you do it, it has to be successful, like what Pat McAfee is doing. Oh, I love what he's been doing. So I can't necessarily, fault that necessarily. But if you're going to do it, it's got to be someone that's doing it good, or it's got to be someone that's like extremely over in the mainstream media. Terrell says, Denise, come on. Both promos were great. Heel promo to a face burning a ratchet. No, I didn't. I thought Brandy went really well, but I just didn't like it. Kush Money says, completely agree, Denise. This whole segment was a super confusing with a very underwhelming payoff. Yes, I agree. And Tunol also says, Brandy's promos was straight out of the 60s, very odd vocab she was using. I don't know much about the vocabulary that she was using, but I just didn't like it. D-Chain Riot Maker says, first time I ever heard the word heifer on a wrestling show. All righty. Yeah, seriously. All righty. All right, where was I at, guys? Okay. I lost your guys' comments. 1 second. Oh, thank you so much. Terrell points out production guy was Jerry Lynn. Thank you so much for pointing that out. And all right, going through your guys' comments. And this is from Bloody Blues, who says Jade's delivery was bad, but I think the segment as a whole worked in no small part to Brandy. Terrell also says, Denise, my theory, she lied about Shaq. It's someone else. And I'm going through. Black Adam says, I still don't get Darby. He spends too much time brooding and looking mysterious for someone who gets his ass kicked every week. Like, we'll get to Darby. I like Darby. He doesn't mind. I don't mind Darby at all. Tunol says, Shaq announcement was odd. I doubt he ever actually wrestles, just like he balled on WWE and the Big Show angle a few years ago. And Catherine says, not sure how in the midst of a cultural movement, stereotyping women of color is furthering the cause, fell out of touch. Thank you so much, Catherine, for bringing that up, because I felt that exact same way. I did think that this segment, I wasn't a fan of the whole spanking thing. That to me felt like, I wasn't a fan of that. So I do see how you can say that, in the midst of all of this, doing something like that probably isn't going to go over as much. And then Benzo says that tweet was for Pac. Same thing. Let's say if your people are trying to say that the tweet was for Pac, you still don't put that quote that Tony said, the balance of power in wrestling will shift tonight. But that's just my opinion. Austin Mai says Shaq is still a big star. Yeah, he is a star, but he isn't. I don't think that he is to that level, to that degree anymore. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Ken Adams says, you're not Brian Alvarez. No, I'm Denise Salcedo. What's up? All right. I'm going through all of your comments. Guys, if you have a really good comment and I didn't see it, please send in your super chat, because I'm trying to read through these as fast as I can. So there. Sean says, disappointing in my opinion. And then Pyroka says Brandy went full hood out of nowhere, very different from her usual speaking style. S.A. Hansel says she was using street vocab. Mark says Brandy needs to be in more feuds. Yeah. Guys, like I said, I wasn't completely for this. Shia LaCook says Shaq is a boomer. And I'm not hating on Shaq. I just don't think that the announcement was that big. All right, here we go. Let's move on, guys. But if you have any more comments about this, go ahead and send this in. All right. Where are we? Oh, you know what? I still have a few more points to make about this. Sorry, everybody. I do want to say that there were some things that were missing in terms of, we talked about the delivery style of the promo that was thrown in here. We talked about the whole interaction with Brandy and all the things did or didn't like, whatever. But one of the things that I think that could have made more sense in this is if Shaq would have actually done some sort of appearance. It doesn't make sense as to if he's there or why we couldn't necessarily get some sort of, appearance, a word, maybe even a pre-taped video, something. I think that would have made things a lot better. I don't think we necessarily had to have Jade speaking for him. And even if we did, what is the relationship between Jade and Shaq? That was never made clear to us when we were watching. So a lot of us didn't really know why she was coming out here in terms of why she was speaking out against this. So yeah. And all right, let's move on now. I'm not going to continue this on. All right. After this, we saw that they are announcing Moxley versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Title on December 2nd. This was pretty surprising. I did not see this coming. This is a big TV match because this was something that I was expecting to see on a pay-per-view, as we know that this match is a money match. So I wasn't expecting to see it on a TV show, but I'm pretty excited for it nonetheless. And I do want to add to the fact that Kenny Omega, that he cut such a great promo afterwards. And I liked this a lot because he made a lot of really good points. And some of the things that he said was that, we're basically getting this new Kenny Omega. He's done with being the guy that's sidelined. He's done being number one. He's done seeing Moxley be the guy on the magazine covers because that's where he used to be. And he's not there anymore. So I liked this. I like the fact that he's alluding that to the match that he previously had with Jon Moxley at last year's Full Gear. Because it was non-sanctioned, he's essentially acting like it didn't happen at all, it didn't matter, and that they're still 0-0 against each other. I absolutely love this. I also like that he brought up that he is going to be having a wrestling match in the ring with him, because a lot of Moxley's matches have been sort of, glorified hardcore matches, and Kenny Omega is basically saying we are not going to have that match. So I am excited I love this Kenny promo. I loved everything about it. And so I'm looking forward to this. All right. Jaden Wiggins says, I couldn't hear Moxley's promo. It was all echoey. Really? Okay, I didn't have any issues with the audio or anything like that. Mark asked, too soon? ? See, and like I said, this is a match that you would expect to see on a pay-per-view. Would draw a big buy rate. So it is interesting to have this match on a TV show. But then again, when their pay-per-views are so far apart from each other, sometimes you're going to see matches like this. And Tunol says, disappointing that they are not saving Omega versus Moxley at Revolution, February 27th. And Catherine says, I agree, it feels weird on TV. I just have no idea how they could have put it off that long. Omega wins his shot at Full Gear, but has to wait a full quarter to cash in on it? ? Yeah. The Pink Pilgrim wrote, glorified hardcore. Giggity. Alrighty, where are we at? Benzo also says Kenny looks too busy for being the best wrestler. And D-Train Riot Maker says it's time for a title change. Moxley is getting a little stale for me. See, I just think that it's the fact that we're seeing the same types of matches with Moxley. I don't think we're getting a big variety when it comes to a lot of the matches that he's been having. So I do hope that we see Kenny Omega take this bout. And I think I've said this before on previous shows that I do want to see Kenny Omega get this bout and then have it be Adam Page as champion and kind of go from there. So I wouldn't say he's getting stale for me, but I just think I already know what to expect from Jon Moxley as a champion versus somebody else that I might not know what I'm going to get. Hodge Gulashi says, drawing Kenny and Mox out to Revolution would be a bit much. Oh, okay, here we go. I read that wrong. He says, dragging Kenny and Moxley out to Revolution would be a bit much. I'm glad they aren't waiting and they can always fire something up by then. Yeah, Hodge, I think you bring up a good point, like I said, because there are so many, there's so much time in between the pay-per-views. You are eventually going to get matches like this, but this is a really big one. This is a big one. But hey, maybe in a way gets people to tune into Dynamite, You never know when you're going to get like a really big match. Mark wants to add that the audio issue might have been from TSN. Okay, I don't know about that because I didn't have any audio issues for that one. Patel Ron, my friend, Patel Ron, thank you so much for sending in a super chat. You are so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I get way too excited for super chats, guys, but I can't help it. Okay. Austin NY28 says, I can see Hangman being the one to dethrone Moxley for the AEW championship. I can see it too, Austin. Austin also says, driving Kenny Omega more mad and making him more heel, considering the guy that he beat the guy he can't beat in Moxley. Yeah, we can definitely see going that direction. I mean, if you're thinking, because like I said, I'm thinking Moxley, Kenny, then Hangman, but there is no reason why it can't be Moxley and then Hangman Page. So yeah, good stuff. And Chris Cage 2X says, pretty sure Mox versus Omega will be a series of matchups with a big payoff at a major pay-per-view, so expect a successful title defense with 2 more matchups with a possible title change at Revolution. Yeah, I would like the series of matchups, so I would be a fan of that. Good point, Chris Cage. And Hodge also says, trust the process. And Ken Adams says, I really like Moxley. I honestly hope they run this match again at Revolution, having Moxley win the first one. Something AEW does differently than WWE is they tend to end the title feuds after one match. Yeah, I like that because I like to see the idea of new opponents coming in and, whoever the champion is, just to really keep racking up those wins. And all right, let's move on. I'm pulling in your guys' comments. All right, we have one from Stamma Osbuff who says, gotta reinforce the facts Moxley can wrestle something other than a death match. You know what? Look, I like Jon Moxley. I really do. However, like I said, I feel that we tend to see the same types of matches with him. And I do want to see a little bit of a difference. But again, that's who he is. That's what he does. So it is what it is. Alrighty, everyone. Let's move on. Where are we at? All right. So we just talked about Kenny Omega, the announcement of Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley for December 2nd. So that was pretty good. But let's get into this other thing. Okay, this is what I loved. Okay, I loved the bunkhouse match. I'm just going to start off by saying that. So it was the Butcher and the Blade versus the Natural Nightmares, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes, with the Natural Nightmares winning. This match was really cool. The thing that I personally really enjoyed about the bunkhouse match was the fact that they didn't necessarily ruin this match as gimmicked. Okay, they actually honored this match in the sense of they put together a really good TV match, something that you could have even seen on a pay-per-view. Therefore, if they try to do this match again, you know that it's not going to be a throwaway TV match, that it's actually going to be something good. So I love this. I love the fact that this match started right away. They had all the traditional weapons that you would see in a bunkhouse match, like the cowbells, the hay, all of that stuff, right? The other thing that I loved was the fact that it was brutal. Okay, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be brutal, and the blood was fantastic. All right, that's not something you normally say about blood, right? But here's the thing, though, is that that's what this match needed. That's what this match is known for. Brutal and bloody stuff, and that is what they gave us. So I was very, very satisfied with the match. Some of my favorite spots that this match had was when we saw Dustin Bulldog Butcher into the plywood. That was a pretty sick spot. We also saw QT Marshall elbow drop from the top of the ladder. That was fantastic. We saw Bunny go through a table, which although they sort of missed the camera shot into that, we saw her, but we didn't actually see her hit the table. But afterwards, we did see the table shot. So the camera kind of missed that one a little bit. But this was good stuff, guys. And I gotta say too, okay, don't make fun of me. I don't know but I'm a big fan of the Butcher and the Blade. All right, make fun of me all you want if you're not a fan of the Butcher and the Blade, but I am. I've been liking all of the stuff that they're doing, and there's something about them that makes me a fan. All right, what did you all think about the bunkhouse match? Okay, I'm going through your guys' comments. Queso says, Blade bladed harder than anyone. I, for a second, thought you were giving me a tongue twister there with the blade bladed. Sam B says, I'm sure Jim Cornette loved the bunkhouse match. Terrell says, I wanted Butcher and Blade to win that match. Cobra Kai says, is Blade called Blade because he blades the sheets out of himself? Like, damn, dude. There was so much blood. If you are a fan of blood and by any chance you did not watch this match, go and watch it because it was good. The timestamp guy says, Blade's blood was covering his face by the end. Dude, you couldn't even see his face anymore after that. Pyroka 101 says, QT Marshall went too hard in that match. He's a humble heartthrob. Save his big spots for a pay-per-view. No, this was great, dude. Like, come on. Like, how many times are you going to get the opportunity to do something like this? So if they're going to do it, go all out, even if it is just a TV show, and it's not a pay-per-view. DJ Riot Maker says, good old school match. Everyone busted open. Nothing over the top. Was nice to see for a change. Benzo also says, yes, they went all out. Zach Blair says, it was a really nice surprise. I think Blade and QT really showed a lot of fire. They really made it feel like the ending of a feud. And we have a comment that I wanted to read. Okay, Bloody Blues says, the bunkhouse match was awesome. Old school and brutal. Exactly. He also says, I'm sure this was supposed to be a pay-per-view match, but was cut because Full Gear was already a bit too long. Glad we got it on TV. Big props to everyone. So I don't know about that. That's I'm assuming just speculation. I don't know about that, but I think that this was definitely pay-per-view worthy. And Jaden Wiggins says the match was all about QT, who I think is an unsung hero on the roster. And I think that's definitely one of the things that I have been seeing throughout the comments is that a lot of people are really putting over QT. Queso also says QT's cutter with the rope was amazing. Tunol says the Butcher spot with Dustin on the outside when he went through the chair looked really painful. I think his ribs are going to be extra sore tomorrow. Oh, everything's going to be sore tomorrow. Daniel Bain says, overblading, in my opinion. A guy is off camera for 4 minutes and then has a crimson mask. See, I think the fact that we don't get this very often anymore in wrestling, so when we get all of this blood and all of this gore and all this brutality, like I kind of miss it, guys. It's not something that we get to see very often. And so, yeah. And Robert Anderson says, I know I said this on your Twitter IG. You should interview B&B. Butcher and the Blade, really interesting dudes. Oh, thank you so much, Robert Anderson, for following me on Twitter and for also coming on here to the stream. That really means a lot to me. NWDZ says, who doesn't like the Butcher and the Blade? Right? Thank you. I'm finally have a popular opinion. I feel like all my opinions are unpopular, but I finally have a popular one. Vermando Verusa says, I'm guessing that NXT will use Bunkhouse Stampede WCW brand soon. Laughing, crying emoji. Hodge says, I dig Butcher and Blade too. A division needs workhorses like that. Hopefully one day they get some shine too. Dude, they will. They will. I think we've been seeing good stuff. People are going to like that. All right. Was there any other comment? All right, guys, I might have missed a few of your guys' comments, but please, if I didn't see it, you can resend it. Or you can also send in a super chat, whatever you prefer. So I'm just going to kind of go through these. Alrighty, everyone, let's move on. So after this, we had a funny segment like we always do with MJF and the Inner Circle. We had MJF's induction into the Inner Circle. And this one was funny because we all know that MJF cuts great promos and they're always really entertaining and they always make us laugh. So he used a lot of Drake lines on this, and this was hilarious because he essentially got called out for it, but then said he didn't know who Drake was. And he talks about how he started from the bottom and now he's here. He also had a really funny line during this when he said that his dad only gave him a small loan of $1 million. A small loan of $1 million. Let me repeat that one more time. His dad only gave him a small loan of $1 million. All right, we've heard this someplace else before, haven't we? I won't say where. If you know, you know. So this was hilarious. This basically ends with them going to Las Vegas. They're all going to Vegas. MJF gets everybody tickets and they're going to party up in Sin City. Then they have this backstage segment where the Inner Circle is essentially celebrating because they're going to Las Vegas. But then Sammy Guevara comes out and he's pissed. He's basically saying that in the email, he got an email, and the email from MJF said to meet them all at the beach. However, they were not all at the beach. Apparently, there was a follow-up email that was sent that said, no, meet at AEW Dynamite. And so Sammy Guevara is pissed that he was out in the beach waiting and that, they were all there. This was so hilariously dumb. It was funny and dumb. So first of all, somebody on my Twitter brought up a good point that I didn't even think about until afterwards. What the heck is Sammy Guevara doing at a beach when there's a tropical storm going on in Florida? So I couldn't stop laughing about that. Also, this past Saturday at AEW Full Gear, Sammy Guevara practically died. The guy died. He was killed in the Elite Deletion match. He was practically murdered in all of our TVs and then thrown into a trash can. And then the next, he's chilling at the beach. What the heck? I do think they could have made this like a little bit funny, just saying like, hey, maybe Sammy Guevara's, we don't know where Sammy's at. He's somewhere in a dumpster. We don't know. I actually thought that would have been a little bit funny, but now they're all going to go to Las Vegas. And so we'll see what's going to happen in Las Vegas. I did make a joke on Twitter that they should, since they do like a lot of, unique things, not to mention the musical that they did, but I did think it'd be funny if they did like a spoof of The Hangover, the movie The Hangover. That'd be pretty freaking hilarious if they did something like that. All right, let me read your guys' comments on what you all thought about this. All right, I'm scrolling here. Okay, I'll read the first one from Tano, who says, I love a small $1 million loan. And then Fitz Von Erich says, MJF, a true underdog story. Joe Shipley says, hi, little beautiful Snooki. I'm not Snooki, bro. I'm not Snooki. What the heck? I'm Denise Salcedo. I am not Snooki. Kaiso says, Drake joke was even better. Dude, it was hilarious. Vermondo Varuso says, I'm guessing that they will do The Hangover Vegas segment. Mike Tyson will make a cameo, continuing his feud with Jericho. Dude, that would be awesome. I'm here for that. Hodge says, impressive how much MJF has been able to pull himself up by his bootstraps like he has a true hero. Cobra Kai says, it was the smallest of loans. Some would say the best loans. Fitz Von Erich says, Sammy gonna be a great babyface. Dude, Sammy's hilarious. He makes me laugh. Terrell says, Sammy said MJF told him to go to the beach. Denise, did they forget Tropical Storm? Etta is out there. So big, it's bringing rain here to New York City already since this morning. Terrell, your comment makes me absolutely thankful that I live in Los Angeles and do not have to deal with any of this stuff. So, woo! All right. The timestamp guy says, MJF's entire past is shrouded in doubtful stories and facades. I side with Santana and Ortiz. The Inner Circle cannot trust him. First was Moxley, now it's MJF. Jericho's faction is going to be broken. Yeah, I agree. All right. Jagan Wiggins says, Hager's huge smile about being shouted a trip to Las Vegas was the most wholesome thing. He looks so happy. Dude, he was just there chilling in the background. Nick says, what is MJF doing sending emails instead of text to Sammy? Exactly, right? Also, it's kind of silly. You have a show on AEW Dynamite. Like, you're going to be on AEW Dynamite. Why wouldn't you show up there? Yeah, and don't send an email. Send a text. Put a group chat. I don't know. Snapchat it. Whatever you do, whatever people do to communicate with one another. Austin NY says, MJF, Sammy Guevara, and Inner Circle segment was hilarious / great. Javo. Ooh, Javo says, I sense another musical number because Vegas. I think they're going to do a lot of like casino type stuff, to promote their game, the AEW casino game. So I do think that they're going to make a big incorporation of that. Black Adam says Sammy's ticket is going to be one way. Wow, that's savage. They're probably going to put him like in a 2-star motel. Christian Cornell says AEW sucks. Oh, Christian Cornejo says AEW sucks. You know what? Everybody's got different opinions. Some people think AEW sucks. Some people think NXT sucks. At the end of the day, whatever. All right. Terrell says, Denise, you can have your LA weather. I take snow over LA any day. Ooh, snow. I don't want snow. All right, guys. Where are we at after this? Dang, so much happened. So much happened on AEW. All right, let's get into Shawn Spears versus Scorpio Sky. So I just got to say that for this match, I'm so happy that we got to see Shawn Spears and Scorpio Sky go at it. The commentary was all over the place here. There was a moment where Excalibur said that wins and losses didn't matter. Wins and losses didn't matter when they have a ranking system on AEW that depends on wins and losses. Okay, I need a moment here to compose myself because that literally sent me over the roof. Like, who does that? Who says that? And I get what he was trying to say, so I'm not even, like, I get it. I get what he was trying to say, but I think he could have said things a little bit different where he could have said that, because of Shawn Spears, Scorpio Sky's feud is so heated that a win would mean that much more. I think that's how he should have said this, because then afterwards we had everybody else on commentary saying like wins and losses really, really matter. But then 2 seconds prior, you just had somebody say that wins and losses didn't matter. Anyways, I'm probably the only person who cared about that, but we're moving on. One of the things I do want to say that I liked about this is that they actually added information on what is going on AEW Dark. Obviously, not everybody watches AEW Dark, so not everybody's familiar with what's going on with Shawn Spears and Scorpio Sky down there. So I did like that they actually incorporated this into the show so that people can actually follow and understand why this match is on AEW Dynamite and why it actually means something. Overall, this was a really fine match. I mean, I don't think you can expect anything less from Shawn Spears and Scorpio Sky, and I'm glad that Shawn Spears got the win here with the loaded gun, because it's a good win for him, guys. You need to give him some wins to help build some more credibility for him as well. All right, let's move up here and see what you all thought about this. May Z says MJF carrying AEW. I think on the Full Gear podcast, I said that he was AEW's golden child. D-Chain Riot Maker says, wins and losses don't matter because your ranking system doesn't matter. D-Chain, yeah, you're onto something here. You're onto something. And Mr. Fantaxis says, someone doesn't like AEW, so don't just watch it. Oh, guys, I think I've talked about this drama way too much. All right, Gary Brar says, I'm so apathetic to the slug gimmick. Shawn Spears doesn't stand out to me at all. I don't think they've given Shawn Spears much of an opportunity to actually stand out. So I hope, because I did see some of his promos that he was posting up on Twitter, and they were good. And I do like the gimmick that he's doing with the glove. So I think there's potential there. Sam B says, Shawn Spears is boring. Absolutely no character or direction. Like I said, I think if given the proper opportunity, we might see that a little bit more. Kaiso258 Eon says, also Spears versus Sky was energetic, never let up, and had a great finish. Oh, thank you so much, Kaiso. I completely forgot that I wanted to say that I loved the finish to this match. I thought it was cool that Scorpio Sky was given an opportunity to cheat and didn't take it because, hey, Scorpio Sky ain't about that. He's not going to do that. I loved that. Thank you so much, Kaiso, for reminding me. Sometimes I forget things that I want to mention on this show. If I don't write it down or I forget to say it, I'll just forget it. All right. Matthew Makovsky says, Denise, I missed this. I'm so sorry. Don't worry. You can always watch the replay. And the Pokemark says, I personally believe Shawn Spears was way better off in WWE with his gimmick of Ty Dillinger, but I understand why he left. See, I think that what he was doing as Ty Dillinger was good. He definitely got over with the 10 chant and all of that. But I do think that Shawn Spears wanted to do something totally different. And I know this because I interviewed Shawn Spears. So we had a heavy discussion about this. And so BTW, if you want to check out my interview with Shawn Spears, you could check that out on my YouTube channel. You could find my YouTube channel in the description box below. There is a link to there. Ranjit says, hi, Denise. Just wondering who your favorite wrestler in AEW is at the moment. It's Hangman Page. I love that guy. So freaking incredible. So talented. And we have seen such massive growth from him in literally a year. And he is just getting better and better. And I know that like in a couple of years from now, he's going to be one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. So I would definitely say Hangman Page. Tunil says, I disagree about Shawn Spears not having had a chance to stand out. He had a lot of focus in the early in AEW, both pre-TV and on Dynamite early these days. Tunil, you got a point. You kind of stumped me there. I can't disagree with you on that. All right. Oh, Brian Sendick says Young Bucks versus Top Flight next week. Thoughts? Question marks. I don't know much about Top Flight, so I am looking forward to seeing them and looking forward to seeing this match. So I think I'll have more thoughts on this next week for sure. And that timestamp guy says, I enjoy Shawn Spears and I want him to hold gold. Make an AEW Dark Championship. Is that something you guys would want to see? Let me know in the comments section. Javo says, it's hilarious to see MJF and John Silver shining and then find out they auditioned for Tough Enough and were rejected. I DK what Triple H was thinking, but I'd take MJF over the Velveteen Dream any day. There's been so many stories of people being rejected and, end up becoming these big stars. I mean, I think one of them was Killer Cross. He was rejected at one point, wasn't he? And now look at him. He ended up coming back to the company and did great. There was a point where they didn't want AJ Styles. There was a point where they didn't want AJ Styles, and look at him now. I think there's a lot of different there's a long list of people that were rejected by WWE that ended up becoming stars. So getting rejected by the biggest company in the world necessarily isn't a bad thing. That probably means that you just got to go and, find yourself someplace else and become that star that you can be. All right. Alrighty, I'm trying to see. Okay. Okay, we got some answers to that belt question. Gary Brar says, no hate on Dark or Spears. We got enough damn belts. And Gary also says, no more Superflowish championships. And Essay says, no design favorite is Wardlow. No, Wardlow's now my favorite, guys. All right. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? I might have missed it. B.A. Charles says, I feel like AEW could use a person or two to help with creative, not writers. Of course, just someone to help keep track of storylines and fill in the gaps. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think the continuity problem is as big as we do see in WWE. So I will say that there is definitely a difference, but I do get what you mean in terms of making sure we get certain things done on the show. All right. And okay, we have a comment here from Janetta Latore, who says, I wish they would push the Tay Conti and Anna Jay storyline more. The ladies try on Twitter to get a story started, but they don't use it. They also need to include dark stories more on Dynamite. So I cannot disagree with anything that you said. I have gone on here a million times to talk about the fact that I don't think that they're doing a great job with the women's division. And even today when we saw Tay Conti versus Red Velvets, this match was really just there for me. And I don't understand why we didn't see much of Shida on this show, considering that she just retained her championship. There's no story there, and it just feels like they're trying to make sure that they get a women's match on the show so that they won't get that backlash from the fans that, hey, they didn't put a women's match on the show. But they definitely need to add more storylines to the women's division, period. And actually make your champion important. Make your champion important. Put them on the show. And yes, they also need to include dark stories. And I think we saw a couple of examples of that today. And I think I didn't read a super chat from somebody. Oh, thank you so much to Jackalope Music. Thank you so much for sending a super chat. Jackalope says, buy or sell on Orange Cassidy versus Shaq. You know what? I'm going to say buy. Only because of Orange Cassidy. I think he's really funny, and I think they can get really creative with that. So I would say yes to that if it were to happen. You know what? If you're going to bring Shaq in, might as well do something fun. I'm not going to see him in a serious competitive match with Kenny Omega, right? That's not going to happen. So I want to see something funny. All right, put him in there with Orange Cassidy. All right, team. Where are we at? I keep saying where are we at? Sorry, guys. I'm all over the place today. All right, let's get into the main event. All right, I have a lot to say about this one, and I have a couple of minutes left to say it in. All right, so the main event, Phoenix versus Penta, and we did get to see the return of Pac. So this match was good. It was what we expected out of these two guys. However, there are some things that I think I would have done differently. So first of all, I know that they were having this match because they got good ratings. People love to see them go at it and all of that. And that's fine and dandy. However, I don't like the fact that they're just thrown into the main event and there's absolutely really no actual story to this. There's no actual story to this. There's no actual build to this. They did mention that they're not necessarily, that they're having a conflict between each other because of Eddie Kingston, but I don't necessarily think that this match was given enough opportunity for there to be a story behind it. It needed more of a story, more of a build. Besides, they need to give them more of a reason to care besides the fact that we know that they're going to have an awesome match with a bunch of cool spots. So I do think that they should have added a little bit more to this. And then I also want to say one more thing. I don't always want them to have Penta versus Phoenix together in singles matches because I always feel like that's just pairing up the luchadors, and I feel like they're putting them in a box. I would love to see more of these guys facing other people. I don't want to see luchadors always just get put in this box. So I'm not a fan of that. I want to see more variety. I want to see, them branch out, and I want to see AEW allow them to branch out. But that's just my opinion. In terms of Pac returning, I like the fact that he's going to be feuding with Kingston. This is pretty awesome. And I do hope that we get to see Penta and Phoenix return with Pac, and just kind of go about that. And, so they can, because I don't want Phoenix and Penta to get lost in the shuffle. So having them actually move on to Pac, I think would be really awesome. So what did you all think about this? Let's see. Tanel says, Death Triangle better be reformed. Exactly. I think that would be the best direction to go on there. And then, we do have a comment about the women's. And that was Laui, who says she does great. She definitely needs more screen time. She needs a lot more screen time. A lot. Kaiso also says, yeah, it needs work. They seem to be adding some new women, though. So I hope by 2021 it's good. Adding new women, yes, that is good. But we also need to add some story to them. And then Jaden Wiggins says, Shaq is 50 plus now. I don't know about putting him in the ring. Yeah, exactly. Kush Money says NWA Women's Championship held in a higher regards than AEW Women's Championship on their own show. So I don't know if you watched my AEW Full Gear show that I did on Twitch, but I went into heavy discussion about this. And I agree with you, Kush Money. I do think that right now it's looking like there's more direction going on for the NWA Women's Championship than there is for the AEW Women's Championship. So hopefully we do get to see a switch in that. And Mr. Fantastic says, I was really surprised to see them try and rip each other's mask off. They work so well together. Yeah, that's something that you get to see a lot in Mexico throughout all of their live events. So it is very common to see a lot of the luchadors, rip off each other's mask and all of that. Terrell says, Lucha Bros going to turn against Eddie after he disrespected Phoenix. Phoenix literally told Penta to come here while Pac was trash talking Eddie. Pac is back to take the AEW throne. Yeah, dude, I think that's awesome. All right, anybody else that I didn't miss? Oh, I think we got another super chat. Where did it go? All right, there we go. B.O. Leon Snigers, thank you so much for sending in a bread super chat. Yes, if you are a fan of bread, let me know because I love bread. Thank you so much for the super chat. S.A. Hansel says, Penta and Phoenix are, STUPID if they can't see through Eddie. Yeah, I get what you mean. Obviously. All right. Hodge says, the story told during the match was incredible, heartbreaking to watch. Tony sold it so well, and the ending with Pac was perfect. Catherine says, a handful of weeks ago, Eddie was acting as a broker of peace between them, and now storyline is that he drove them apart. Even if we assume Eddie changed after losing, this felt too soon for the rift. Charlie says, I feel that wrestling fans just like complain. Yours feels fine, but I've stopped listening to wrestling fans complain a long time ago. I think the show was great. Yeah, I get what you mean. A lot of people do complain on the internet, but hey, it is what it is. Brian Rose says, Bread Club. Satoshi Kojima would be proud. Yes, Bread Club. I'm there for it. Maze says, a little out of topic. I think The Fiend is a bigger star than most wrestlers. I think The Fiend's star power has gone down a little bit, in my opinion. Alrighty. Any last comments, anyone? So we kind of just went through AEW, NXT. There was so much to talk about, but I want to make sure you all let me know what your thoughts were, even if you weren't in the live chat. If you're watching the replay, whether you're watching it on YouTube or whether you're listening to it on a podcast, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram at _ Denise Salcedo and let me know what you thought of the show. And please make sure to come back each and every single Wednesday night on the F4W online YouTube channel. Subscribe. There is so much awesome stuff on this channel, including my show each and every single Wednesday night. So please make sure to subscribe. And again, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _ Denise Salcedo. Oh, also, I do have one more thing to say to everybody. So Talkin' Shopomania 2 is taking place this Friday, and they're going to be showing it on Fight TV. I do have a giveaway right now on my Twitter. So if you want a chance to get a free code to watch the pay-per-view on Fight TV, go to my Twitter account, retweet that post, tag a friend, and you never know, it might be your lucky day and you might get selected and you might get to watch Talkin' Shopomania 2 for free. Also, in the description box of this video, you will find a link to my YouTube channel. Go there because I do have a tongue twister challenge video that I did with the Good Brothers and Rocky Romero, and it's so funny, it's so outrageous and out of this world. So go check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's something different that you don't really get to see in wrestling media. So I think you will enjoy it. Also, I do have an recent interview up there with Nyla Rose and just a bunch of other stuff. So again, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. The description box the link is in the description box. But other than that, I want to thank you guys all so much for tuning in, and I hope that you guys returned next week. And please spread the word about my show and how much you guys like it. Hopefully you do. And I will see you guys next Wednesday.